Hi, I'm Walt Smith from Harrison, Ohio. I've had the pleasure of crewing on Ram for Matt Bond and came up here to the 41 time station. See Lee. Welcome to the Ohio Ram Show.
Well, thank you, Walt Smith, for that introduction. It was such a delight to see you turn up last summer at Time Stations 41 during the race across America. I even believe you when you say you came up there to see me. Walt and I worked together in time. Well, we worked apart in Time Stations for a while, and then we teamed up later on when the race across America came back to Ohio in 2003. Between 1990 and 2002, the Race Across America route wandered around the country a bit, and then in 2003 came back to Ohio, and Walt and I have worked together pretty much since then, although the last few years he hasn't been around as much, and then, of course, neither have I. It's so nice to see old friends. Walt is one of the great guys. He's been around the Race Across America as a time station worker for a long time, and that just goes to show you the kind of people that make the Race Across America happen. And this is the Ohio Ram Show, a show about cycling and ultracycling, and this is show number 168. And I am your host, Lee Kreider. We want to always recognize the fact that this show is a product of Time Stations 41 in Oxford, Ohio, and Time Stations 42 in Blanchester, Ohio. Time stations on the Race Across America. You'll hear more about them as we get closer to the race in June. I want to always remind you that there are show notes for the show. If you are watching the show on ohioramshow.com, they'll be right below the video. You can see them there. On today's show, we're going to have, first of all, Arham Shaikh from Pune, India. Well, actually, second of all, because before we have Arham on, we're going to go up to Findlay, Ohio, and chat with my friend Corey Foust. Well, actually, we did the chat in Chillicothe, Ohio, during the tour of the Scioto River Valley. Just a little self-indulgent. Corey and I have been friends for a great many years, and we've cycled together here, there, and yon, all the way from Prince Edward Island to Colorado. Did we ever go to Colorado together, Corey? It was good to meet up with Corey again on the tour of the Scioto River Valley, which we affectionately call Tazrib. And for those of you who did Tazrib in the 70s and 80s and 90s, this is not the Tazrib you remember. Like so many of these great rides, the decline in participation was dramatic. Actually, the interview with Corey was done in 2016. It has sat on my hard drive of my computer all that time. The interview with Arham was done back in January of 2017, and I just heard from Arham. He is still active in cycling, and he is getting ready to do the Deccan Cliffhanger in India, which is in November. So, first off to Chillicothe.
He lives in Columbus, and I used to come down here with Dave, and he was the first guy that I ever saw homebrew beer, and I love drinking his beer. And then I called him last night on the way down there, And I don't think I've talked to Dave in probably 10 years. And he goes like, oh my gosh, you know, he was so excited, you know, because he used to ride this, and he had the craziest colored socks. They'd come all the way up, and they were striped. It looked like something Dr. Seuss would wear. But such a hoot. But so we caught up with families and good stuff. But
So I'm sitting here with Corey Foust from Findlay, Ohio. Friend of many, many years, although we haven't seen one another in a long time.
it's been a while.
How many times for Taza, Corey?
If I make it this year, it's 42.
42.
42.
I met a guy back at Circleville, been 44.
Yep.
And
Dick DeLombard has got 44, but this year he's doing the half. So I'm not going to let him count this year anymore. And there's a guy named Doc who I think has got 46. But I question whether or not Doc has finished them all or not. But yeah, but there was a point today where I was at 12 mile an hour, so I'm getting old.
well, we walked by the food cart, and you mentioned baked potatoes. Tell me about baked potatoes, Corey.
I don't know if I want to air that.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Okay, situation is it's 58 degrees.
And it's raining.
And it's raining, and the temperature is dropping. And I have my comrades, of which I am sitting, and I pulled them in close to me just to get body heat off of them, and it's not working. And I smelled these baked potatoes, and I got up, and I went over. Now, they give them to you in foil, so this was sanitary. But I put it at the core where I was the coldest, which happened to be down the rear of my pants. Now, I would have thought it would have been perverted had I put it on the front, so I put it in the back. But it looked really odd.
Oh, I remember, Corey.
And it warmed me up, man. And then they said, "Are you going to eat it?" And I go, "Well, yeah, I've still got it." So I pull it out, pull the foil off, and consume that potato. But that's literally saved me, because you got hypothermia coming in and you're shaking and you can't stop it. What are you going to do? You know, there's no heated car.
Yeah,
One of the highlights of my Tazriff memories was when our club came down, which you were a proud member of as well, and we had our orange and white striped shirts, and there were 20 to 30 of us, and we would stop at the ice cream store just north of Portsmouth, about 5 miles, and we would put playing cards,
baseball cards,
in our
cards.
spokes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we test them, and then we turned them off, and then about 2 miles outside of town, we'd all pull off, and then engage those cards, and we'd ride into town in a perfect formation, going da 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 da,
yeah.
And everybody would just stop and look and just clap. No, today, I mean, Mark's an old member, and I think that's it. 2.
You know, Corey, I've been looking this crowd over, and I think I know why it's dropped.
There's no young.
There's hardly any young people here.
Last year, the statistics and several of the prior years showed 40% of the riders were guys my age, and they were in their 50s.
Yeah.
Now, Mark and I are in our 60s and still doing this, but all you see is silverbacks.
That's right. That's right. There used to be tons of kids.
There was.
Riding Kmart bikes.
I know. And I don't know. I don't know what's happened, you know.
Corey, you've been a friend for a long time. We could go on with stories from the handlebars and
water bottle fights. It's certainly good to see you.
It's good to see you, Corey. I tell you, I'll have to say this morning when we were getting together, there was a tear in my eye. Okay, thanks, Corey. It was really fun talking with you again, and we love you. So then let's head on to Pune, India with Arham Shaikh. We're now in Pune, India, that hotbed of UltraCycling. Arham Shaikh. Did I get your name right, Arham?
Yes, Lee.
Okay, well, it's glad to have you here and to learn a little bit about you, as we're learning a lot about some of our friends from India. Tell me a little about yourself, your background, your training, what you do.
Well, Lee, first of all, I'm born and brought up in Pune itself. I've done my schooling, basically all my education out here. Currently, I am pursuing my post-graduation in computer science. I'm a final year student of postgrad. I've been cycling for 8 long years now. I've been cycling since my school days, competing. I've been into a lot of other sports as well. Um, I started racing seriously 2 years ago. A cycling company called Scioto Cycling helped me with my first road bike out here, and I got into endurance cycling and racing together. And I saw Deccan Cliffhanger happening out here in Pune, which is organized by Divya Tate. And Major Srinivas met me on a Sunday ride, a Sunday long ride, and he offered me a opportunity to crew for him for the RAM qualifier. So this is where this was my first instance of an interaction with an ultra cyclist and an entry into ultra cycling as such. That is how I got into ultra cycling. I crewed for him that year in 2013. Sorry, it was 14, I suppose. Yes, 2014 is when I crewed for Major Srinivas, who attempted RAM last year in 2016. Fortunately, we managed to finish third in the RAM qualifier, and that really inspired me the entire journey of the race, how it went, and how the cyclist went through everything, how everything needs to be planned. It was really appealing to me, and I thought that why shouldn't I give it a try? The very next year, that is 2015, I started training and I enrolled myself for the RAM qualifier. After going up and down with my sponsor and my coach, we decided to do a two-person team, and we did it. And we were fortunate enough to win it in our category in 2015, and we repeated the same last year, that is in 2016, and we managed to win it again. I've been also into racing as such, short distance, that is 100 odd kilometers, 40-kilometer time trials, 100-kilometer road races. And I've been to the nationals as far as road racing is concerned as well. So I'm pretty much into endurance as well as sprint racing. And Pune does provide a very good opportunity to train. The terrain is amazing out here to train. Rolling terrain, climbs very nearby. You don't have to really go far out to do some climbing practice. There are a lot of cyclists who race, so training with them. There is a good culture coming up of cycling in Pune, and I think it was all started off by Divya ma'am a few years ago when she started off by conducting breves, BRMs in Pune. Since then, cycling has picked up tremendously. Earlier, when I used to go for training early in the morning, I used to barely see a handful of cyclists out there. Now, when I go out there, there are groups of people riding everywhere, waving at each other. It's really a good feeling to see how the community, which was really small a few years ago, has grown tremendously out here in Pune and also in other parts of India as well.
We've been watching that from over here in the United States with great amazement and certainly with great support. What do you attribute to the tremendous growth of cycling, particularly outdoor cycling?
Well, there are a lot of factors. First of all, people are becoming more aware of their own health. They are pretty concerned about their own health nowadays. Fitness is something that people want to inculcate in their own lives. People are becoming more self-conscious and aware of their health, and especially when people who work in IT companies, computer field, they move abroad. They go on their visits abroad to Europe, to States, to Australia. They see how the cycling culture out there is, and most of them basically got inspired by that earlier, came back, started off commuting on their bikes, commuting to their offices, commuting to various places they go to, grocery shopping, for example. So people started doing that instead of using their motorized vehicles, and things slowly started to pick up. It took a long time, 4 to 5 years, I suppose, for people to actually start doing. Now it has taken up tremendously, and yes, because of that, and because of the brevets happening out here in Pune, and people see other cyclists do long distance cycling. Them, during a brevet of what are they doing. People are basically curious out here of what are they doing. Some people, just because of seeing other people doing it, they start doing it and they end up loving it, and they also get into it. And slowly and steadily, the community kept growing, and here we are now.
Well, one thing I've noticed, Arm, and I've mentioned this to other people, you
Yes,
seem to have a good sense of public relations there. And I don't know
yes.
whether it's because your newspapers, I notice a lot of articles in the Times of India. Do you folks work at getting stories in the paper there or in the other media?
Whenever whenever an event happens, the organizers, usually the organizers of that particular race or of that particular event, usually contact the media and given their articles or whatever data they have to be published in the newspaper. So in that particular sense, it is being done.
Yeah, and maybe your papers are particularly receptive to these stories. It seems like here in the United States, and maybe it's just a different culture or what have you, we have a lot of difficulty sometimes getting things in, particularly in a paper. Now, the Times of India, that's a national paper, is it not?
Yes,
And I pick up a lot of stories from that paper, as well as some of your local
yeah,
papers.
yes.
And I think that you're doing a good job with that, all of you there. And I think you're being commended. And I think we have a lesson to learn here as well. I know that the Mahajan brothers just did a long ride circumnavigating India to try to
Yeah.
promote the cause of bicycle safety. Is that a big issue for you folks in India?
Oh yes, yes. That is a very, very big issue out here in India. That is one of the major problems out here. Basically, people who are using their cars or motorized vehicles, or any form of motorized vehicles, they technically do not respect cyclists out here. They don't feel that the cyclists have an equal right on the road as they do. That is how the mentality and the mindset out here is of people in general. They would continuously keep on honking at you from the back for absolutely no reason at times, and they will not be patient with you at all.
Well, this doesn't sound unfamiliar to those of us here in the United States. We struggle with this problem. What are your future plans? What do you dream about when you go to bed at night before you go to sleep and think, this is something I would like to do?
First of all, currently, I don't dream long term. I set goals at a temporary basis that can be achieved in a short duration of time, and I work towards the ultimate goal. Well, RAM is one thing I would definitely would like to do, and I'm a kind of a person who doesn't just do it for the sake of doing it. I would like to do anything when I know I will be able to do it. I am trained for it, I'm prepared for it, and it's all in or nothing. So I basically work towards my goal accordingly. Right now, I have to take care of my academics, I have to take care of my part-time job, and I have to take care of training simultaneously. So currently doing short races, like for example, winning a medal at the nationals in the country, making the state proud, completing my education, scoring well in my exams, doing some big races, some prestigious races whenever they're happening in the nation. Those are on my priority list. Starting off with triathlons soon, and doing an Ironman as soon as possible
Okay.
within the next 1.5 year. And trying to beat the timing that the fastest Indian has. There is one race called the Trans-Siberian Extreme.
Yeah.
Siberia, the Siberian region. Well, I would consider that to be one of the goals that I would definitely want to do in the long term. I would have to work towards it. It would take some time, but that is something I definitely look up to. That I would definitely like to do that.
What's your plans for Deccan Cliffhanger this coming year?
So if I do Deccan 17 again, I am planning to do it. I wish to do it in a 4-person team, a 4-person relay team,
Okay.
and try to set the fastest completion time record that we have in India of that particular route and that particular race.
Okay, very good. Well, it's good to talk with you, Arham, and it's always good to do what we can to make people aware of the wonderful things happening there in India. It's kind of remarkable. It wasn't too many years ago. We never heard of anybody trying ultracycling from your country, and now it's happening everywhere.
Thank you so much, Lee.
And thank you for being with us, and we wish you the very best, Arham, in your future.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you, Arma, for taking time to be on the show. We apologize for the long delay in getting you on the show. Remember the show notes that you'll find at theohioramshow.com. Thank you for your support. You have been so good to us. You help us when you find us on social media. You give us a like, you give us share, you give us comment. All those things help the show become better known, and we appreciate that a great deal. And when we get to talk to you either online or on the telephone or sometimes in person, we have heard you remark about how much you appreciate what we're trying to do here, and we appreciate that a great deal. Thank you all. You mean so much to us and helps us to keep on keeping on. On our next show, we're going to go and talk with Ross Welton, again back to the United Kingdom this time, and that show will be on October the 21st. So with that, we're going to say goodbye.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.